Welcome to I Am Goddess Collective podcast, a sacred space for empowerment through modern magic, spiritual activism, and reclaiming your power. I am your host, Nixie Marie, feng shui practitioner, earth activist, and mystic, here to support and inspire your journey in becoming the change you wish to see in this world. That change starts within. Join myself and fellow thought leaders, metaphysical experts, and luminaries each week as we explore practical and magical ways to living in your highest alignment. Your journey as an empowered goddess begins here. Let's dive in. Hello, sisters. Welcome back to the podcast. I am sitting with a very lovely guest we've had on the show before, the dear Debra Silverman. Hello, welcome back.
Debra Silverman, that would be me.
It is you. I'm so excited. I was looking forward to this interview all day long, even though I had another one, because I think we just had so much fun last time. And I was like, I got to get her back on. She's just so fun. And it's not often, it's not often easy to have good chemistry, like when you're not in person,
It's true.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. So Debra, let's get into like why you're here. I think that we had some questions I want to first address from the last time. You were talking a lot about your applied astrology course and sort of the difference that you take and how you bring it more into the world so that it's much more digestible than some of the other astrologers. And, everybody here to every degree is interested in astrology. I mean, I don't think you can listen to this podcast and not be. So, one of the things that came up was like, how can someone really understand a relationship between, one sign and another? How can they best navigate that energy? How can they, get the best out of that? Know that it's a good relationship to start off with in general. So I thought maybe we could get into a little bit of those relationship like zodiacs and how that really, how that all really relates.
It's like one of my favorite topics. I'm Libra rising, and so my soul this lifetime is all about relationships.
Yep,
so
that makes sense.
I think that there's some practical, the distinction between me and other astrologers, and there's a million. Right now, I love the fact that astrology's come into the mainstream up front. It's always been behind scenes. It's always been behind doors. It's been in the chambers of kings. It's been underneath. And this is a witch, that everything was hidden. But now we get to go on internet and go on YouTube, and there's astrologers everywhere, and they talk a particular jargon that I tend to stand away from. And my school specializes in speaking English because I want it to be so practical. And talking English, when it comes to relationship, there's not a more important topic than communicating in a way that doesn't create conflict, but it disarms another person. So when here's the symptoms that I tell people. If you're in a relationship and you're complaining to your girlfriends a lot, something's wrong. Like if you know that you're saying things about this guy behind his back and the girls are all nodding, going, yeah, me too. That's number one disruptive energy that you have to really look at. If there's good reason to complain because you're not compatible and it doesn't match, then you take a heed. You go like, wow, I have been complaining about this guy over and over again for so long. That's how I know a relationship's about to end, because I'm toxic. So that's one big clue. If you think about your partner and you're like, you know what, I like him so much. I have so much compassion for, even though he's a jerk, I have so much compassion for him. I have so much understanding of why he does what he does. I can override that stupid behavior of leaving the toothpaste bottle undone or not putting things away or putting things too close together because he puts them all apart away. He's always so neurotic. If those things are personality traits that aren't going to go away, but you love who he is or who she is, then you change your conversation and go, you know what, I'm going to make a diet of saying things that are going to enhance my relationship. And in astrology, there are, without a question, there's non-negotiables where there's personality traits that don't go away. So a guy that talks all the time and you tell him not to, good luck with that.
Right.
A guy who's got a really bad temper and you tell him to tone it down, good luck with. I mean, these are qualities that don't go away in astrology, and they're simply based on the personality type that we covered briefly, water, air, earth, and fire. You can quickly assess what element your partner is displaying. And this is what you learn in level 1. As simple as this, like, oh, he's water. He never talks. So rather than me getting mad at him, I fall in love with his silence.
Mm.
And I celebrate that I can come home to this man that's going to be cuddly with me, and I can go out with my girlfriends to talk. I mean, it's kind of like ABC. I feel like it's so simple. Water people don't like to talk. They want to cuddle, cook, and stay home. Air people can't stop talking. They want to socialize and be friends with the door. They'll talk to everything and anyone that moves. Earth people have to organize and clean. And if they don't feel like there's money and security, they don't want to be with you because you're a sleepy person and you're not getting anything done and you're useless. And if you're fire and your partner is really loud and fun and playful and likes to party, you better give them permission to turn the music up.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client tell me her husband drove her nuts because he always wanted music on. I'm like, the guy is a sage. Everything's got to be loud.
That's me.
Why is that surprising you?
Yeah, that's me. I'm literally sitting next to like our giant speaker of ultra speaker because my boyfriend's a DJ. So he's still does it, but agree to that. Yeah.
But what if your partner, what if you didn't like the ultra speaker? And what if you were trying to change your partner?
Yeah, well, I've had my fair share of trying to change the person, and that I found out doesn't work. It's me that gets to change myself.
I thought you were going to say it's mean. It's me. It's mean.
It is mean, actually.
Change someone else.
Yeah.
It is really mean.
Yeah.
And so that's the first clue about relationship. And we learned this so quickly in astrology is your willingness to let somebody be themselves. I mean, this is the art form, like your willingness to not only let them, but to celebrate. Like I live with a Scorpio. He has 4 planets in Scorpio. If I didn't know astrology, I'd probably hurt him.
Like, Scorpios are yeah.
Oh my God. So intense. Like so intense. Well, I know astrology. So I'm like, I had to do a little adjustment. This is what we're talking about.
Yep.
Oh, I'm with a really intense personality type that can go in on anyone's story to the deepest conversation within about 3 minutes. Okay, I'm going to go in the other room and I'm going to go look at the wind and see the flowers. And I'll be right out here with the kids because I like to play. That's not to say I don't want to match him at times, but sometimes I'm like, it's a sunny day out and we're going to go play now.
Yeah. But that's where the balance comes in, right? Yeah.
That's the dance. And this is why we learn astrology, not just, this is a really important topic you're bringing up. And it's so appropriate right now in what's going on in the heavens, because there is this enormous amount of Capricorn in the sky in December, January, February.
Yeah.
Where you probably heard about this.
Yeah.
Like
Jupiter's in Capricorn.
Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, and Mars.
That's right. There's a lot of them.
And the sun and the moon. And the sun and the moon. Yeah, it's crazy during right about now when this is coming out, we are being inundated with Capricorn. So the trick is the gift of Capricorn in the sky is offering us is a heightened honesty. Capricorns, and you have this in your chart, by the way. I
have a lot of Capricorn.
You have 4, but it's just what's going to happen in the heavens. There'll be 4 planets. So what do we do with that? We just tell the truth. Like, okay, it's a great thing to do right at the new year. I'm going to be honest. I don't like that my partner fill in the blank. Like these personality traits really bug me about him. And I'm going to do my best to get compassion. This is a Capricorn assignment. I'm going to learn the art of accepting the fact that he has friends that I don't like, but I'm going to stop telling him he can't be friends with them. I'm going to separate. I'm going to consciously make a relationship with the truth and ask myself, is this non-negotiable? Because some things don't need to be made relationships. Some things need to be cut.
Right. Yep. Well, I love how you addressed, like in the very beginning, listen to yourself. How are you speaking of that person? How does what they're doing, affect you on a spiritual, emotional, and physical level? Because that's when I really do believe, and I'm not a relationship expert by any means, but like at the core foundation of just knowing that a person, is not, you can't change a person, period. And you've got to either have acceptance, like acceptance is the word that comes up, for these traits. But I love how we bring the astrology in, and it's like, okay, well then if for a Libra obviously is going to be like much more always looking at the balance of things and, seeing both sides of things. But one intensity, like maybe a Gemini. Like, I don't even know if that's a good mix. Like, that's like too much.
Here, that's a great question. You know, do you know that when it's the same element, like Gemini, Aquarius, and Libra automatically get along? That's called a trine in astrology.
Okay.
And it's an automatic compatibility because they're all airheads and they don't even notice when they change the plan, change their directions, forget what they were saying. They think that's so funny. All earth signs, you put a Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn in a room, which you have a lot in your chart, and they automatically get along. Like, okay, I'm going to organize, you're going to clean, you're going to make the list, and you're going to follow up. Perfect. We're all in agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Same with fire. You put Aries, Leo, and Sag in the room. They're like, let's go outside, turn on the music. Let's dress up. We're having a party. I'm in.
Yeah.
And you put all water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, and they're like, let's meditate. Let's create. Let's put some music on. Let's create an atmosphere and make a beautiful dinner. So it's compatibility based on the elements is the entrance level for a beginner. And this is what the class is about. But I think it's so funny that we think we are attracted to people that are opposite of us, but we're compatible with the ones that are the same.
Interesting. So like when we say like opposites attract, but that would make sense. I mean, me and my partner were both fire signs. He's a Leo, I'm a Sag. So, and I've tried the Virgo. I've tried the, God, what were most of my exes were all Virgos. Go through her
list of who she tried.
Virgo, don't do it, Sages out there. Don't do it. Wasn't a good match for me. Exactly. But I do have a Virgo moon, so there was that,
an attraction.
Yeah, somewhat. But yeah, that's very interesting. So why in astrology do I often hear, opposites do attract, or or even just being like, okay, I'm a Sag and the opposite sign of me is a Gemini. And I often hear like, oh, that's a really good match. Like, what would that be? How do you explain that?
It's a really good match to start with. It'll be a lot of energy, a lot of chemistry. There's a lot of connection until you start to bug each other. So where the similarities are, if you put you and your partner both being earth signs, you can ground. Is that what you said? Oh, no,
fire,
you both being fire. That's right. So you turn, that's so funny. There's a big speaker next to me. My boyfriend's a DJ. We turn the music up and it's so loud.
Yeah,
that's so normal. That's so normal in your house. Yeah. If you have two air signs, you know what they do? I'm thinking of a person I know right now. He's a double Aquarius. She has 4 planets in Gemini, and they literally read books out loud to each other for days.
Oh, that's awesome.
See, that's a compatibility thing. Like, so it's opposites become fascinated with each other, and it can work, but it's much easier when your interests are the same and you're enhancing the other person's. Like if you're both physical, it's so much more fun to do it with a partner.
True. Yeah.
I always like to think of that story about at the end of this world, they had this big giant boat and they put all these animals on it, and they had to go in 2 by 2 because they had to make sure everybody was in a partnership so they could continue the species. I think that's so funny. You have to realize how important it is that we all do 2 by 2s. And even though I think secretly you get single for too long and you don't really want a partner anymore because it's so much freedom to be able to be yourself and not clash. But in the secret heart of every soul is the worrying about being at their deathbed and no one being in the room. Like, no.
Yeah.
That's like one of the biggest tragedies that lives in people's psyches.
Yeah. I mean, who would want that? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a very attractive, but you can get there. This is for all of you listeners who have surrendered to being single. You must, and this is a New Year resolution, let me be open. That's what you're a great example of it, of a really healthy relationship brought to you by Nixie. Like there is hope. There is hope.
Yeah.
And if you're in a relation that doesn't work, don't compromise and stay there because you should.
No.
And then if you're single, don't lose hope, because honestly, there is always a soulmate waiting in the back of the wings, but you've got to evolve enough and be willing to do the work. A relationship is a full-time job.
It really is.
It's not part-time. And they never tell you that.
Yeah. Well, they don't tell us a lot of things.
How to balance your checks.
That one too. That's why we have podcasts about them.
So if you're complaining too much, or you notice that you're not on the same page, or you notice you've been single for too long, or here's the other big announcement. It's really easy to break up when Saturn return happens or Saturn square at 30 years old, at 37 years old, at 44 years old, at 21 years old, those are markers in astrology where everything shifts and you really can't help yourself. But in between those cycles, there's long windows where women come to see me and they're complaining. And I'm like, let's see, this is our third session. We're still talking about, oh, what's his name? I'm not interested anymore. I don't know why you are. And then they're like, I mean, I'm known to be very blunt. I'm like, so if Saturn has not come to help you break, because Saturn makes it irresistible. You don't really get a vote when Saturn comes to get you. Saturn return will break up people. Saturn square Saturn every 7 years.
Which I'm just completing mine. So
yes. And didn't you just have a major change? Isn't that what you told me in your last one during Saturn return?
You know, not a lot of like major. I mean, my major change started when I actually met my partner, which was 3 years ago. But I think that's like when it all starts. And my big change was finding stability, really. But it wasn't really around relationships. And my relationships
stability.
Yeah, it was really around stability and actually staying consistent. Just having a stable foundation, really staying consistent with something. I'm very multi-passionate, so it's really hard for me to pick one thing and stick to it and find success in it. So I committed to, you know, this podcast and my cleaning business to really find that sense of foundational stability so that I could provide for myself and, you know, not be the flighty like Sagittarius that like runs around the world and, you know, woo, which I would love to do at some point. But yeah.
Because your life lesson's Earth. And so this is back to relationship. If your partner helps you, supports you to get grounded, because that's your life lesson, and he holds you accountable, great. But what if you had a partner that said, don't stay there. Come with me and be a pixie. Let's fly around the world. You'd be like, hold on a minute. And you can get many women get distracted. They leave their life lesson over here. They go follow him until they can't anymore. And they come back to themselves. So that's another big issue in relationship. Is my partner supporting what I've agreed to learn this life? And your life lesson, and many people your age who have Saturn and Capricorn, they promise to work. Like you promised this life that you would work and be stable, even though it's boring. Sagittarius looks over at all that Earth and goes, really? But it's so good for your soul.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, and it's funny we're having this conversation because we're about to make a decision that could potentially mean us traveling a little more, but it requires us going into business together and doing something that is work, but also travel. So, you know, we're sitting with that, and I'm sitting with that mostly because I'm like, my sense of foundation does not get to go. Like that comes with me wherever I go. So, you know, 20 years ago, I would have said, yes, let's go, you know, and now I'm like, well, these are the terms in order for me to feel safe, feel provided for, feel, you know, okay with doing that. So, yeah, that's really interesting.
Good. You know what? I want to just make an announcement as a 60 million year old woman who's been on this planet for a lot of incarnations as an astrologer. It gets so much better as you get older.
I feel
the wisdom that, especially for Capricorn, with all of the people born in the year you were born, was it 89? What year were you born?
Yeah.
So, and now Saturn's entering Aquarius in April of 2020, and then it will go back to Capricorn, so it's not completely done. You'll still feel it all the way till like, I want to say July, and then it goes into Aquarius. So for all of you Aquarians or anybody born in 1991 to end of 92, you're now entering into Saturn in Aquarius, the life-changing cycle of Aquarius. But the point of that was, when those cycles happen as an elder, I can tell you this, when you go through Saturn return, not to be feared, but you really do grow like a weed.
Yeah.
And then the more you grow like a weed, the more you learn your lessons, the easier it is to not be a neurotic mess and have anxiety, because you're like, hello, I made it through that last one. Why am I not going to make it through this one?
Yeah.
Isn't it so true?
It is. And I'm about to do a podcast episode on my Saturn return when I get through it all. Because I'm turning 30, or I turn 30 when this comes out. I'll be 30, but I'm turning 30 on the 18th of December. And so it's a real thing. I mean, I was often a little hesitant. Like you said, it's nothing to be afraid of. I was a little afraid because I've heard so many sort of like, my mom died, my dad this, and I was like, okay, who am I going to lose? What's going to happen? What's going to crumble? But my entire 20s was really intense for me. I never could find a sense of stable foundation or place to live or this or that. I was tossed all around. So now, like, being solid and being really, in my flow, in my life, in my career, everything, and having a solid, healthy relationship too, that adds to it. It really shifted things. So I was like, okay, now all the good stuff is going to crumble. Like, that was what I was afraid of. So
isn't that crazy?
So far we're good. But actually, this year my dad had some health issues. That was a little scare, but still, I mean, he's solid. Like, there's enough people around, I think now today with health scares, that we've got so much technology and everything and just consciousness to really, make the necessary changes. I mean, it's crazy. Like, the conversations now we're having, a lot of my Saturn return ended up, actually, to be completely honest, was really a lot of father healing. So, yeah.
That's Saturn. Saturn and Capricorn rules the father. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Capricorn is the father. It's the classical male father, old school.
And my Saturn is in Capricorn.
Yes. And that's so perfect. God. And father images. I had such an interesting story with my dad. My dad was in the Jewish mafia. It's a crazy story.
Whoa.
So I grew up, but he was a good guy. He was Robin Hood. He stole from the rich and gave to the poor, but he was still a crook. It sounds good, but it wasn't really that good.
Yeah.
And it was a very scary, he did end up going to jail. And one of the gifts of Saturn return and or your relationship with your male side, another way to put that, how grounded are you? How committed are you? How responsible are you? How willing are you to be the accountable one? That is very Saturnian and very back to the original topic. In every relationship, you have a male and female energy, and sometimes there's men who are more female than women I meet. And sometimes there's women that are more male than men I meet.
Yep.
And you want to ask yourself, this is relationship with Saturn. In your chart, if you have what you just described, a committed relationship with Saturn, you're grounded, you're responsible, you're playing on life's terms. That's how I like to think of Saturn. It asks you to stay in grown-up land and not be irresponsible. You're like, oh no. Really? I was just about to have a party and here comes Saturn saying, put the drink down. I'm the designated driver. How did I get elected?
Yeah.
But then what Saturn then as a father, high level father image would say to you is, look, you've made a contract when you came down here. You made a promise to come to Earth. And with that, you made some agreements. And I'm just here to be your conscience. So if you have a good, in your case, Saturn and Capricorn, if you said, look at all the plants around you, it's funny. If you say, I'm going to be grounded and stay in one place and tell my Sagittarius ego, step over there, my commitment to my Saturn, to my mission is bigger than to my ego. That's a healthy male. That's what your father, a good role model of a father would say to you is, hey, I have this crazy story. You're going to love this. I was like 20 years old. I'd fallen in love with a man 15 years my senior. This is the craziest story. I went to see my dad was having open heart surgery. I went into the room before he went into surgery and I said, Dad, I got to tell you a story. This is 1975, before you were born. This man I just met who I'm kind of falling in love with wants me to go on a trip with him. And I tell him this whole story. And at the end of it, and my dad's going in to have surgery. And I say, what do you think I should do? And he looks at me and he goes, you know exactly what to do. You don't need me. And it was a very big decision. It was like the guy was in an open marriage and I told my dad everything. And it was like, this was my first falling in love. And my dad was like, no, now that's the right use of our right father image inside of ourselves. You do know everything. If you listen to your own instinct about the relationship you're in, about the job you're in, you know in your heart of hearts, is it time for me to stick this thing through and stay with it because I'm learning and growing? Or am I complaining too much and I'm so frustrated and it's not serving me at all? People can give you counsel, and that's what my astrologers on my site do. There's lots of places and they are really good. In the end, true north comes through your tummy. And that's the adult, that's Saturn, that's what this whole unbelievable stellium in Capricorn is. We can't look outside of ourselves for our dads or for the government that's Saturn in Capricorn, we've got to come to our own authority. That's what makes me so excited about your generation is when I was 30, I was pretending I was a grown up, but I can't even believe how many mistakes I made. I just embarrassed myself. But the good news is I'm now a grown up and Saturn has had her way with me because mine's the opposite of yours. You know where my Saturn's in? Sagittarius. I was here to learn to teach. I was here with the promise that I would indulge, be irreverent, rude, slightly rude and disruptive.
Mm-hmm.
And my little Libra rising was like, what's the assignment? Ew.
Yeah.
I'm going to lose friends.
Mm.
But I've learned now how to be, I've learned how to let myself be slightly disruptive, definitely a little more indulgent, a little freer than I would have expected as I've gotten older. So I have taken Saturn's call with my healthy male and my good example of my father and let myself be free. And everyone listening to this podcast, you have to ask yourself, what's my relationship with my male side? Do I listen to myself? Am I obedient? Am I on time? Do I take care of money? These are all Saturn conversations.
Yep.
And it looks like with all those plants hanging on your head that you're starting to get used to this Capricorn shit. Is that true?
I feel like I'm getting a hang of it. Yeah.
Is it hard on you or how are you doing with it?
I love that you asked me that. Thank you for asking. I think that for the all of a sudden something shifted this past month. So it's December now when we're recording this, but now, the whole year was really challenging because I'm running a business and I have employees and I have a team and I have this and that and this and that. So the challenge really was for me and my mental health in not burning out and in staying grounded, because I've always been very I want to, channel and be ethereal and stay in the mysticism and stay in all of that. But my opportunity, I think this last couple of years while I built my business was to stay grounded and to stay consistent. And so that, again, like I said earlier, wasn't always easy for me to stick to one thing because I just have so many passions. So, and still to this moment, I'll be like, am I really supposed to be doing that? Maybe I could go paint and do this thing and that thing and this thing, and the shiny object syndrome just really is hard. But on an emotional level, yeah, there were moments where I would just break down from, crying. No, I'm like, where is this coming from? And then on a deeper level of healing and, speaking of my father and the healing of that was realizing all of a sudden I have these needs that I didn't know that needed to be met when my parents got divorced when I was 18, and how that trauma really started to show itself in my current relationship. And it just triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered. And I was like, okay, I get to look at this and really look at this because it wasn't something that I could avoid. So I feel like, I've always been able to really handle things in life. And at the same time, it's I being 100% honest with it, it wasn't always easy. So, just staying though.
What motivated you? I know you're Taurus rising and that is your soul's calling to stay on the ground. But what was it that got you? Because some people would hit that spot and still go for the shiny thing.
What motivated me and what always does is I know I have and have always known that I've got a mission here and that it's bigger than me. And when I built a team and I started to see women come in that could, get paid to do something that was fun. I'm a cool boss. I get to create something that someone, actually likes to do. That became my why. And then also the bigger picture of everything I do is really changing the way we look at business, the way that we create sustainable products, the way that we bring health and wellness into our homes. So I have to always come back to my why when it gets
Good
hard,
answer.
Okay,
now ask me.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Debra Silverman, first I want to know what your Saturn return was like. Cause you've had a couple now, or there's a Saturn return and then there's
I did too.
Yeah. So what did you learn? Was it hard for you?
I like the question, what motivated you, but I'm going to stick with your first one.
I'm going to ask that next. Don't you worry.
Okay. Don't get pushy over here. Don't get pushy, little moon and Aries, Debra Silverman. Okay. So the first time I was 29 and I got my first radio show as an astrologer on a mainstream radio station in Vancouver. And it was really random, but it happened right within the week of it. I was waiting to see what would happen. And that catapulted my career because it was mainstream. They had never had an astrologer in Vancouver. I was at the #1 talk show at 5:00 at night when people were, this is the good old days, right? They're driving home from work in their car, listening to the famous Fanny Kiefer on CJOR, and suddenly in came Debra Silverman. So that's broke open my career. That was really fun. And then the second Saturn return was when my school started. Literally, someone named Destiny, you may have heard of Destiny Berman. She does all things online as far as marketing. She's brilliant. And it's so funny. She said, have you ever heard of an online school? And at the time I was like, huh? And now we have thousands of students. We have 30 mentors that are teaching my material, and they're all having a party. But I couldn't have imagined my Saturn return on both cases bringing me so much success, because everyone puts it up like, you're going to be so scared. It's so, no, the opposite.
Yeah.
I saw the fruits of my destiny come straight, not destiny. Destiny spells with 2 E's. We always make fun of that. Not destiny with 2 E's, destiny with a Y. Found me on both Saturn returns and said, we want you to bring astrology to the masses. Would you be willing? I mean, basically they asked me that question at a soul level, and I said, yes. One included a radio show that went, mainstream, and the other included a school that's gone around the world.
Yeah. I can totally relate to that.
But the better question that I know you're going to ask me is what I'm really excited about.
What motivates you to get through all that and every day?
For the longest time, and I, like you, always knew I had a purpose, and some of you listening to this can echo that, like there was something specific for my coming to this earth. It wasn't random. And for a long time, it was my fear, like, what happens when I get home to the council and they say, Deb, how'd you do? And I'm like, I ate a lot of chocolate, got high, and had a really fun time at the beach. And they were like, what? You did what? My terror was that they would look at me and go, we gave you how many gifts and you did what?
Yeah.
But that was irrational, because that scared me I must have gotten in trouble sometime in the past life, because that scared me for so many years. Like, don't take your eye off the ball. Don't take your eye off the ball. Now what motivates me is, honest to God, I have so much fun with my team of women. There's, 40 on my team, but there's 10 close in, and I'm in love with these women. So I can't wait to go to work. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful?
I'm so thankful. And I can't wait. What, the funnest thing, one of the second funnest things besides those women, is when someone finishes level 1, it's a 6-week class. It's super easy. People from all over the world come. There's only 10 women in each group. We do a small, intimate classroom. So there's 10 women, there's one mentor. She and I study your chart before you get there, so the teacher knows where to aim. But when they finish the 6-week class and they say, oh my God, I lost so much weight. Oh my God, I fell in love with my husband. Oh my God, I finally divorced old stupid what's his name. Oh my God, my kids and I are getting along for the first time. I understand why she's a mess, and I've stopped bugging her. Like, it's so specific.
Yeah, just simple. Well, now seems like the perfect opportunity to share with you goddesses our newest sponsor, the Moon Deck. The Moon Deck is a beautiful oracle set that connects you to your intuition and brings self-care rituals into your daily life. Created to foster community and healing, this entire set of 44 cards, plus a beautiful guidebook filled with rituals, is inspired by the cycles of the moon and the empowerment of women. It shares insights on growth, purpose, practice, and emotional well-being. The Moon Deck can be worked with as an oracle guide, as a daily tool for reflection and meditation, or simply in a tarot-inspired spread. As a goddess listener, you receive 10% off the entire site. So head on over to themoondeck.com/goddess and enter code goddessmoon to receive your discount. Happy rituals and oracle card pulling, sisters. I love you.
I get people walking up to me. I love when this happens in the streets. It just happened the other day. And they're like, I've been through level 1 and 2 and my whole family knows about you because you changed my life. I was like, what did I do? I never meet them because it's all online. What did I do? And she says, well, I just always judged myself and I feel so much better. I'm like, oh my God, how can I feel any better about my contribution when I know people's life? Can you imagine?
Yeah, I can. Yeah,
they get their lives changed. They get their lives changed. We give scholarships. People that are young that love astrology, if anyone's, because it's $1,000 the first class, but I really conscientiously make it available.
Yeah.
As best that I can in payment plans. And I just want everyone and their cousin to study astrology. I'm so in love with the change that happens. And it's not theory. It's not just theory, the class. It's looking at your chart and saying, oh, so we were looking at your chart. Oh, look at Nixie, you've got to get graded. So imagine you're 25 and you didn't know. And you took the class and you found out that you have Mercury. Did you know this? You've got Mercury and Neptune and Saturn all hanging together. So you are a little bit of a dreamer. We can't leave you alone too long because you'll start bumping into things. So, and if you learn that in the class, you're like, wow, that's so true. I start dreaming and I go off planet and then I feel insecure, but I keep wanting to. And that's understood in one class.
Yeah. And I think it brings us all to this knowing of thyself, and that's really important today because it's so easy to get lost, so easy to create a comparison story or try to be somebody else. But that is what my personal experience of astrology has been to know myself on a deeper, better level so that I can understand what I'm really here to do.
Bingo. Said so well. You couldn't have said it better. Know what I'm here to do so I can fulfill my promise and get on with it. Allowing you to be completely uniquely you. Like Miss Tattoo over there, your uniqueness is your signature. Literally, that's how you sign off on this planet. Here's my uniqueness. But if you don't have permission because somewhere you're feeling like, I talk too much, I don't talk enough, I work too hard, I don't work enough. All those judgments just interrupt everything.
They definitely do. And they can get real loud if you don't keep them in check. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm really good at helping people. Sometimes I feel like a big giant mom.
You are. You have a very mom energy.
But I'm not even a mom. Well, I am a mom, but it's so funny because I feel like a kid. I don't know how that happened. How could I? This is so Gemini.
Yeah.
I'm so Gemini. I have a mom
and
who wants to put her arm around. And then I have this 12-year-old that's like, oh, we're doing a podcast today with that really pretty girl. I'm so excited.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I mean, I think but again, you just go back to that understanding of what you're here to do, who you are as a sign. And, I think it's really cool when you start to understand astrology so much that you can then read the energy of another person and then you guess their sign and they are that. And then you're like, wow, I'm really cool now and I'm really spiritual now, or etc. But I think it also, going back to the relationship conversation, taking it out of relationship of him and I, but maybe she and she, or even relationship sisterhood, or, he and he, and all dichotomies of all genders, and understanding that, like how, or trying to understand really how these signs can affect even relationships at work, relationships in sisterhood, and God, like all the things. I mean, it's just such a wide spectrum. So.
And it's so wonderful. Like, if I have a best friend here who's in town visiting me, and she's a Taurus. Yesterday, my usual rhythm is I got all this fire, like get up and go. But I was with her. So I said, you know what? Today we're going to walk really slow. I had the best day because I consciously said to myself, I want to be with her on her terms. That allowed us we couldn't stop laughing. We had the best day. And it was all because I conscientiously said, this is one small example, I'm going to match my friend. And
knowing that though, like this is where knowing your friend's sign or knowing who your coworkers are is so important because I like you said match, and I like to use the term like embodiment or embody like an archetype in some way. Like when you feel like you don't have something that you need, confidence or slowing down or something it's important to embody. Maybe there's something in your chart, like the Taurus, that you can embody, right? But you know, what like, if someone were to want to just get started with that, or knowing, like, how can they really start tuning into relationships and how they can build that understanding of the signs, and how they can, you know, call in and call forth that which they maybe have a lesson to learn from a sign, or the people who are their people.
Exactly. Well, I have a book called The Missing Element, and if you go to my website, I'll mail you the book with the chart inside of it and hand sign it. That book is just about the elements. Just start with, like, I know she's earth. Well, I can simplify it. Yes, I know Taurus, but she's so earth. So if I know my partner's so water, and I know that means being quiet and being still, then I'm going to match him or match her. But then I have to know who's my friend I can go with that goes, oh my God, you want to do fire? You want to play music? You want to trip? So we need to have a language. And that's what one of the best parts about my book is: simple English without a lot of jargon. There's no astrology in the missing element. It's just the 4 elements. And it's really getting people to say, how do I understand you right at the beginning of my working relationship with you? This person has so much earth. Like, I have someone in my company that she makes notes after every meeting, and then she has procedures, and then she has a schedule. And at the one point, my little air said to her, okay, we are going to put that little schedule away right now because you're driving me nuts. Like, I hired you to do earth, but maybe you want to talk to the other earth people in the other room, because, but so you have to know, like, I don't want to stop you. I love that you're doing it, but please, I'm going to turn into a bitch in a few minutes. Like, you're going to push my buttons because I can't do it. Because basically we react and we judge and we limit the people that bug us because it's usually a quality that we can't understand. So it's, they say this often, I hate this line, but the thing you don't like in someone is in you. I go a little bit different. The thing you don't like in someone is often the opposite of what you have. So for example, I can't stand people that are late because I'm a time Nazi. But then I had to realize it's not because I want to be late, but it's because I don't let the truth is I get upset because I don't let myself ever be late. So then I just own it. Like, this is my button being pushed. It's my stuff. It's nothing to do with you. Keep being late. But I realize that my own internal, and that's what the elements, that's an earth element. Expectations being fulfilled according to the structure and the rules written by what's their names.
Yeah. So what would it look like if you ended up being late? What would happen?
It's my body gets uncomfortable. I love the feeling in my body of never stressing. And when I'm late, my body starts to stress. So I live a life of no stress. I'm very deliberate about always being in a relaxed state. So I can't understand anyone who could live with themselves with that feeling of, ew.
Yeah, and
like I didn't.
Time is also very much related to our integrity, I believe.
For some people, I've learned to accept. I have friends who are always late, and you just know that, and then you tell them a lot. You say, we're going to leave here.
Yeah, early. You say early. I have a lot of friends that are late as well, including myself at one point in my life. I've done a lot of work to really understand. And once I identified it with time equals integrity, that's when I shifted, and to give myself like permission to, when I'm not perfect. But I love that you brought up, it's like the stress factor, because, I live in LA, so you've got to plan ahead, like, period. There's no, the story of there was traffic is like, there's traffic all the time. So that's not going to work. Like, you've got to leave early. And so I always tell my girls that, and sometimes it doesn't quite land, but it's like, you've got to leave 30 minutes ahead of when you're supposed to be somewhere. So if I tell someone, I'm going to be there at 8:30 and really it's 9, they'll show up at 9. Always 30 minutes. And that's a long time to wait, And so, you caught me in the beginning where you're like, 4 minutes. It's been 4 minutes. And I was like, I know, I couldn't get into my Zoom. I was like, and it was funny because I was having that conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm late. Like, I'm never late. This is that. And it's, of course, here we are with the conversation. So that's so funny.
I love that. But so here's the deal. When you're with someone, here's back to personality types. You're a time person, so you apologized and made it really clear, and then you had to live with your internal dialogue. What I've learned, and thank God for being in my 60,000-year-old phase, is I accept it. What I require is attention to honesty. Like, admit it.
Yeah.
Don't defend it. Yep, I was late. I don't care when you were late. Sorry, I was late.
Acknowledge it. Yeah. Yeah, I did a rigorous training, like transformational training course. That's where I learned a lot about time. And the biggest thing we did was we would say, I acknowledge my broken agreement. What you can count on from me going forward is this. And
wow,
I thought that was all, really powerful because it's in acknowledging there was an agreement, A, and B, saying I'm going forward. This is what you can expect.
I love that. Mm-hmm. See, you are so Capricorn, the Sagittarius. You're a growth hound. You have an insatiable appetite for growth. If that's in the conversation and I know I have my friend or my lover or my kid is an insatiable growth, I'm like, you know what? Make all the mistakes you want. Because you know what that is? That's the soil in which wisdom will grow. Every mistake you make. And that's in my book. Like the bigger the mistake that if you're willing to grow, if you just make mistakes and you repeat them, go home. I don't even want to have dinner with you.
Yeah, no. That's one thing I can say I'm very proud of in life is just being able to have like the lessons come in and make those changes needed and to, course correct, I like to say. And the funny thing is about mistakes or lessons or patterns that keep coming up is they're going to keep coming back until you learn them. That's just how it is. It's like you can't level up until you learn that next lesson.
And I can confidently tell you with embarrassment that one of my mistakes in this life was that I ran my business. I never owned the school business. I did a personal consulting company for many, many years as an astrologer and a healer, probably 30, 40 years. And then I started thinking about getting bigger, but I only hired men as my managers. And by the third time where I got totally ripped off and judged, I realized I needed women and that I was the man I was looking for. That was like the
That's
biggest revelation. Like, are you kidding? It was me the whole time. And I could stop blaming him and I could stop criticizing them and I could stop feeling inadequate or feeling like, and I became very successful.
Yeah, that's powerful. I think in these times, we talk about that often, women not needing a man anymore, even just as simple as that, and how powerful is it to know that we don't need anyone outside of ourselves, anything outside of ourselves, and that's a big one.
Huge.
Big one.
That's, oh my God, you could do a whole hour on that.
Yeah.
So we've done a big circle here. If you're in relationship and you've given your power away, that's another big one. If you notice that you lost your rhythm, like this is an example. For so many years, Friday night in Judaism, it's a pagan practice. They have a celebration every Friday night where you light candles, you eat bread. You know about this? It's called Shabbos.
No.
And for my whole childhood, my grandmother did it. Every Friday night, we would drink wine, we would light candles and eat bread. And as I grew older, my kids were born and I started to continue it. And I got into a relationship with a guy that just didn't like it. So I stopped doing it. Fast forward about 4 years later, I was like, wait, what happened to Shabbos? And that's when I realized I just done the very thing that I tell everyone not to do. Yeah. Don't give yourself away. Don't lose your rhythm. Don't adjust because he didn't like, what was that? And then I woke up and came back to my ritual. But that was a concrete, hard example, not unlike with the men in business. I didn't need to do that.
No, I think we do that a lot in relationships. I'm definitely guilty of that in relationships too. Just little things too. It's that little thing that you held as sacred, and I think that we as women, we have we have the womb, we have this connection to the divine that is bringing that sacred act into our everyday mundane life. And I mean, it's as simple for me. Like I started drinking coffee a lot more when I got into relationship now with Cameron. And I was like, I love coffee, but it really affects my nervous system. Like I'll start getting like jittery. And so slowly and surely I'm like, why am I drinking coffee again? What is this about? And it would be because I would love to wake up and make him coffee in the morning before he goes to work. And so then I would have the coffee and then it just became a habit that I then took on. But at the core of it all, coming back to it is like, no, I like to make my potions. Like, so I now do like cacao blend with like mushroom coffee and all these other things that I need to get me going. Cause a cup of coffee doesn't get me going. It gets me like, I'm too fire. It's too much energy.
How long did it take you before you changed?
About 2 years. And
so that's a great
3.
example. That is such a great example. Not unlike mine with Shabbos. So cause I'm back to doing it every Friday night. So you get a vote. Everyone, we are the new government. Saturn's in Capricorn, Jupiter's in Capricorn, Pluto's in Capricorn. At the moment, Saturn, Sun's in Capricorn, the Moon's in Mercury's in Capricorn. I would say we need to be a new government. run by yours truly. Everyone can say the sentence. This government's run by yours truly. And I've decided that I'm not drinking coffee because it's an ultimate executive order. Like you become the leader of I am doing Shabbos. I don't care what the rest of you are doing. I have Friday night is sacred. Now my fortune is my partner happens to love that.
Yeah.
But that's the point of this exercise. In the name of relationship, first things first, you study your own chart. You get so acquainted with what is your nature because people are confused about it. Like, what do I like? What don't I like? How is my person? And that's what level 1 does. You get a very concrete mirror in your face with only 9 other women in the room going, oh, that's what you're like. Nixie, you've got so much earth. And then the next class is, how does your mind work? Like, what's the repetitive? Oh, so now I figured out your Mercury. And the next class is, where's your shadow? Let's go to your North Node. Yours is an Aquarius. So this is a good thing to know. You are weird. That's all those tattoos. Like that's Aquarius. The weirder they are, the better. So now we know what we want to aim you towards. At that. That's your promise. Because your South Node's in Leo. We don't want to get you into the conformity game. We want you in the weirdo company.
Yeah.
And then the last class is Saturn. What's your life lesson and what timing in this lifetime that you should be paying attention to so you know when those cycles are coming. And that's just level 1.
Wow. So cool. I love that you've created
so much fun.
So much fun. Such a fun.
Deep fun. Deep, serious fun.
Wow. Well, Debra definitely didn't fail on the fun and the excitement. I like how we just kind of rip and it goes and flows. And that's, again, like I said in the beginning, not always an easy, thing to catch on with guests. So.
Yeah, well, you and I got that chemistry thing going on.
The chemistry thing, yes, we do.
Well, it's because your Mars is opposite my sun, in case you're wondering. So that explains, there's the opposition. See, that's the right use. You've got Mars at 1 Sag, and my sun's at 3 Gemini, so they're exactly opposite. So it creates energy, but it doesn't mean we would get along. You have to find out over time. We could both be, if we were both so Gemini and Sag, we'd be fickle and crazy, but you've got enough earth for all of us.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've had a very in relationship with Geminis. That has been the one relationship with women I have had a hard time with. So it's interesting. Mostly because
I've enough earth.
What?
They're fickle.
Yeah, there's not really there's always something. It's like, is she really going to do it? Is it really going to happen? Or, is it just is it all talk? So that has been like the skeptic in me, coming. But I actually, it's funny how I think that when we know that, first of all, we know, okay, I'm seeing a pattern here with a sign that's showing up in my life consistently. And then all of a sudden there's one that shows up and they totally paint you a whole new story about them. And you're like, wow, this is a whole different thing. Because now I've got a really good friend who's solid. I can trust her. She's super grounded in her and she can handle her shit. And that's the type of woman I like to surround myself with, and she's a Gemini. And
that's why this is so important. And that's why just your sun sign tells us nothing.
Right.
Because you, by the way, Miss Fire Mama, you have so much earth in your chart. You may as well be Earth Mama, not Fire Mama. But see, that's where you learn enough about astrology. I am not a normal Gemini. I mean, I have obviously the gift of the gab. That's a Gemini thing. But I am so repetitive and consistent and practical. Yeah. I kind of drive myself a little nuts.
Obviously, you have found success. And the only way truly to find success is in consistency and devotion to that. So, and that's where I see, if I see someone staying in the same lane, because now it's funny because my trigger, like you addressed your fear of, or your trigger thing of others being late. Mine is like, if they bounce around into too many different things. And so
it's always a projection. Exactly.
It is, because within myself, I have so many different things that people often like, what exactly do you do? And I'm like, oh God, that's the worst. I want you to know exactly what I want. I know you to know exactly that I'm this person, but then I'm like, well, then I also do that. And then I also do this. And I'm like, they're going to think I'm just not really successful at anything. And that's some old programming. Who knows where it came from? I mean, yeah. So
it's a perfect example where the opposite. I love that conversation. You see something in you that's opposite, someone that talks so much and you don't really like to talk. You're like, that person talks much. No, really, you just have a reactive behavior to the person that reminds you of something about you. So for you, it's the free-floating person that bugs you because you can't do it. For me, it's the person that can't be on time because I wish that I could not be on time, but I could never not be on time.
Yeah.
So we have that projection screen. It's really valuable.
It is. Yeah.
And I love saying it out loud. I'm jealous because you're a flake and I can't be a flake. I have a lot of friends who are flaky, and I look at them, I'm like, how do they get to pull that off?
Yeah.
I don't get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
But I can love them, and that's what astrology does. I can just say, you know what? I don't want you to come for dinner, but I can certainly have a little smile with you as I walk past. Bye.
Wow. Yeah, I agree.
I think we did it. What do you think?
I think we did. We definitely did it, Debra. Thank you so much for coming back on and sharing your light and wisdom in a really awesome. I think this topic was the first thing that popped to mind when I had a lot of people reach out and said, thank you for having Debra on. She really enlightened me about this. And then we had, one of the listeners sign up for your course. So I'm setting the intention that you guys better go check out this course, as we spoke about it a little bit here on the podcast, but there's so much more to it. And I think the root of what this conversation really was is understanding why it's so important to know thyself. And through knowing yourself is really, really, there's many tools, but astrology is really one of them.
And the shortcut for those that are listening is you look at your rising sign. For you, it's Taurus. Just aim at your rising sign. That's the short answer. So that's Earth. You look at your Saturn. You can do it the elements with my book. Yours is Earth. Do I hear a theme here? Mm-hmm. And then you look at your North Node for like the shortcut. It's not necessarily, but it gives you and yours is Aquarius, which is air. So you've got a double Earth. Those are the kinds of things that you'll learn in school, but it is my gift to make it so simple so people can hang up or stop listening to this podcast and go, I wonder where my soul is. What did I promise? I love when you ask that question.
Yes. Ask that, especially now, 2020, we've got a whole new year, whole new decade. What better than a perfect time to find a whole new chapter for you to dive into in this magical world that we live in, this reality. So, all right, Debra, let's close out the show. What does it mean to be a goddess to you?
I liked when you asked me about my favorite crystal last time. Just wanted to say that out loud.
Didn't you ask me that? I did. I did.
No, but I like this question. What does it mean to be a goddess? It means that I uninhibitedly indulge in the pleasures of this life without any self-consciousness, because I know it's my job as a goddess to eat slowly, to smell the flowers, stop, smell, to make sure the wind and I are best friends, to make sure that I get myself into the hot shower or the cold bath or the freezing cold wind and not shy away from going, oh! I give myself as a goddess full permission to eat this life alive.
That's one of the best answers I think we've had.
I feel it.
I feel it. It's good. It's a good one.
I feel it.
All right, Debra, where can everybody find you and sign up for your applied astrology course?
I wish I knew where I was. I fly around a lot. The best way to find me, it would be in cyberspace because it's harder to find me on Earth. But you know what? In LA, you guys should know this. There's an expo that I'm speaking at with all these astrologers at an expo in LA, like an LA expo.
Is it LA Consciousness Expo? Is it
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. There's a panel of astrologers. They just invited me. I've never done that before.
Is that in February?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, you're going to find me. I'm going to find you. I love that story.
I have friends who help organize that event. So yeah, we have a lot of listeners in LA. We got to
really
go.
Cool.
We all got to gather and go meet Debra.
Maybe I'll do some readings while I'm there or something. I don't know what that expo thing is like, but yes, come find me. That just flew into my head. Cyberspace, Debra Silverman Astrology, 3 words. Debra Silverman Astrology, DEBRA.com. You go and find out about the school. Plan B, sign up for the school is $1,000 to get to the level 1, and it's a very powerful 6-week course starting January. What? She knows more than I do.
I think it's around the 21st. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Around the 21st. Yeah. Last week of January. And then there's thestarcommunity.com where for $22 a month, you can learn astrology super cheap. And it's all my materials are like a deep dive into that site. And you'll be captured by Sun, Moon, Rising, Mercury, Venus, all those people. And then the last is, of course, my book, which you can get on Amazon or write to me.
Amazing. Well, I love you all so much. Thanks for tuning in as always. And thank you, Debra, again for being, maybe we'll have you back on. Well, maybe we'll do like a quarterly thing, or not quarterly, like bi-yearly or something. Just like check in. It'd be fun.
I'd love to. I'd love to do it on your birthday. Why don't we do it on your birthday, Sag, next year? And then we'll do one on my birthday.
There we go. And your birthday, that'll be the perfect polarity.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's
thank
been
you so much for all you do.
Thank you. And we'll see you in February, it seems.
Yes. I'll be seeing you in February.
Yeah. Real life interactions. All right, sisters. I love you. I see you. I hear you. Bye for now. I'll see you next week. Bye, Debra.
Bye.